So people are coming in. Welcome everybody. This is the last session of the day. So we were just finalizing our planning. There are still people coming in. So Pier Andrea here again, checking in from Kota Kinabalu, Malaysia. It's 9 p.m. Today I started the first session at 3 p.m. Be kind with me in this session. But luckily I'm not alone. You see a lot of the faces that you've seen already in the other session. So Jorge, Ginetta, Rocio, Gladys, Yasmin, and Sarah. I hope I've got everybody. If not, please remind me in the chat that, introduce yourself in again. So last session of this birthday party, we've got 1 hour and a half. Standard operation procedure as for the other meetings. We keep our mic muted if we're not talking. We use the chat a lot. That has been working really, really well in the other session I participated in. We'll hope to see you all in video, but that's not nice to have. And especially remember that we're recording the meeting for memory, future memory, for posterity, but also for the people that couldn't join. So with this, I hand over to Jorge to get us through the first part of the session.
Thank you, Pierre. And thank you everybody here organizing and attending this session. It is really a pleasure and an honor to be here opening this last session. As you know, we have been doing, if you can share the next screen, please. We have been doing quite a lot. And even before the opening session that took place yesterday, we were already practicing with the knowledge cafes, inviting all of you to start discussing and to start talking about the network and talking about the issues that we are interested in. To be honest, when we first started thinking about how to do these celebrations, and we came with this idea of this 24-hour round the globe session, to be honest, I was a bit skeptical. I thought it was going to be very difficult, and I was wondering if we were going to be able to do it. Now that we are almost finishing, I find it surprising, and I've really, really enjoyed it. I think we have had super nice sessions, and especially they have been with a lot of people. Everybody sharing, everybody commenting, everybody happy to see our faces, to hear from each other, to read what people are writing. I think it has been fantastic. And I think it has been a great way of celebrating a great network. So yeah, congratulations to everybody. Congratulations, yes. And thanks a lot to all of those of you who helped make it work, and those of you who have been participating so actively. But we're not ready yet. So we have this closing session, and here we would like to look back a little bit at what we have been discussing, because we want to think a little bit what comes next. So here you have the relay messages. You have been part of the sessions, and you've noticed that we wanted to have a sort of summary of what have been discussed as a sort of advice that can help us individually in our organizations and also for our network. So you can see the different messages that came from the different sessions. I think you can read all of this yourselves. Otherwise, I'm also putting the link on the chat, the link where we have been collecting all of this. If you can all read it, perhaps we can try again this idea of annotate that we have been trying before, and you can put, if you find on top of your screen this option, and you can annotate and put a little heart or a little stamp on the one you like, or on the one that impresses you, or on the one that you haven't read before. Should we do that all together?
Yes.
Oh, I got the wrong one. Oh. Of course, some of them are specific for this subject, but some of them are applicable to all the things that we are doing and all the things that we have been discussing. Yeah, I had a sort of the assignment to try to look at these messages, perhaps try to come with one, but that is impossible. One of the things that I really liked is that somebody mentioned, I haven't written it down perfectly edited it, but it was something like KM4DEV feeds my feeling of connectedness. We've been talking about networks, we've been talking about cooperation, and we've been talking about persons and not just content, and these feelings of our as individuals, which has been very nice to see individuals talking with each other, and of course connectedness. And that is, I think, one of the nicest things, or perhaps the nicest thing of this network. So I think it is a very nice, very, very nice way of celebrating, well, a lot of work for 20 years and a lot of good results. So congratulations to all of you, and let us continue working together. Now, we also invited you yesterday to do a little quiz, to look at how much we know each other, or how much you know of the history of the network. So it's time to look at what the answers were and who the winners were. Yes, so if we go to next slide, Gladys, over to you.
The quiz was very competitive, and we had people who were able to manage. I'll start with the first winner goes to Mishra from Nepal. He got the whole questions correct. Let's celebrate him. The second one goes to Lucy. And the third people, it was equal of more than 4 people. Let's celebrate our own Pierre, followed by Sophie, Nancy, and Ewan. All of them were in the third position. Yeah. I'd like to hand over to Sarah. Maybe if you would like to share more about, in line with the questions, how it was being participated, and which questions were rated to be mostly highly effective in terms of the response of the people. So handing back to you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Gladys. There were 32 people that filled in the quiz, so thank you all of you who did that. The winner was Udayan Mishra of Ikimod from Nepal. Is he in the room?
No, I don't think we have him, unfortunately.
Okay, but he won. He got all the questions right, which was really impressive. And then there was Lucy, who got 1 mistake. And then there was, as Gladys said, there was Pierre Andreas, Sophie, Nancy, and Ewan, who got 2 mistakes. There were a few nasty questions in there, just to make sure that everybody wouldn't get correct answers to all of the questions. And one of them was, for example, which was the odd one out, and the odd one out was not Sydney, as many people thought, because in Sydney there'd been a KM4DEV meeting in the past. The odd one out was New Delhi. And the other question, which was a bit of a nasty one, just to separate everybody out, was about the story of the golden retriever puppy. Was that really true or false? There was the KM4DEV meeting was disturbed by barking, and that is in fact true. That the KM4DEV meeting a few months ago was disturbed by the barking of Helen Gilman's puppy. It was really classic, and all of us who have been trying to keep a virtual working bingo by that to remind us of all the things that come wrong. This was really even off the cards, so I was really, really delighted about that. Anyway, a really big congratulations to Udayan Mishra. I'll send a message to him on the list and congratulate him for being the memory of KM4DEV 2020, and look forward to a quiz in 2021 maybe. So a big round of applause for Udayan, please. Thank you.
Okay, so picking that back up. So that was a memory trip down the memory lane if you took the quiz. And actually visually, we did take that that trip down memory lane yesterday when we opened the celebrations for KM4DEV 20 years. Happy birthday. And here, I'm just sharing with you now the output, the raw output of the collective work that we did when we tried to add a bit more to how the journey was for KM4Dev since we were born 20 years ago. And it's really been amazing. If you can see in here, you have from just like, how many people was it? 60 people in a mailing list and a website in year 2000. Now we've grown to 5,500 members in the website alone. And you see here several of these activities that we've experimented, we've tried, events that we've gone to, events we've organized ourselves. We've been around the world, and hopefully we will do more of this in the coming years. So we were in Portugal, in Brussels, in Rome, in Addis Ababa, in Bonn, in Vienna, in Geneva, in Seattle. We were in where else? I'm pretty sure we have also small KM4Dev meetings and informal meetups happening everywhere. But this is really, this like a very rough drawing is really testament to the fact of how much we have grown as a community. So hooray, you see that at the bottom, hooray for exponential membership growth, for starting new initiatives and pulling wonderful people along. So like the spin-offs that Sarah was mentioning yesterday. And for all those discussions, the rich conversations that we've been having, the fact that you can experiment, that you feel safe in this space, and that all the time you feel like there is a family of KM practitioners who you can go to, and you don't need to feel ashamed about anything with them. So congratulations to us, happy birthday to us, and another round of applause to us, yeah? Now you see lots of hearts in here. For those of you who joined us in the opening plenary, you know what those hearts stand for. Those little hearts are actually each member, each one of us. These are like member hearts of when we start, right? So now, for those of you who didn't join us yesterday, this is your chance. I give you like maybe 30 seconds. If you haven't put your heart yet in the year when you joined the community, please do so we can have more hearts in our journey, and we see the spread, because yesterday this is the result of that spread, and yesterday it was really already very well distributed, from the beginning to the middle to the end. So please do so, add your hearts in there, so we see when you started joining the community. Voila. Okay, so I see additional hearts. Voila. Right. So that was yesterday, was like looking back. Today, as we close the 20-year celebration with after 8 sessions that were really packed, really great, really insightful, and we really hope you had wonderful takeaways from that. This session now will look forward. Yeah. So we would like to spend a huge part of this session in getting all of our insights together and sort of planning. What is it that we want for KM4Dev henceforth? Where do you want to take KM4Dev? How else can we, how more can we evolve? Because we've evolved so much. What's the future like for us? So to take us through the process that we will, and the methodology that we will use for this activity, we would, I'd like to call on Rocio, yeah, who will take us through this open structured market exercise. Rocio, please.
Okay, thank you, Jasmine. So here you have, so we have done an open structure market, and we have defined the first 4 groups. The first group will be led by Helen, which will talk about how KM4Dev can support the members and get new members. The second one will be how to revitalize participation in the community. Andreas will lead on the agenda knowledge for development, and Peter on how to raise funds, funding and financing. So if anyone wants to add for another subject, you still have 2 spaces, so you can annotate, first come, first serve. And after you have annotated, you put your name, we will let first Helen sell her group, then we will pass to Gladys, then Andreas, and then Peter. And then if there is any other group, any other person who wants a different theme, we'll have 1 minute to present also. So with this, I leave 1 minute to Helen to why people should go to your group.
Maybe Rocio, sorry, if maybe because I know people are internalizing these topics, and if there are already suggestions for the last two, so that we can complete it, and then we have a sweep of the pitch, no, the elevator speech, so to speak. So I don't know if there are already. You can feel free to unmute yourself, or you can type things in the chat. You know, if you have suggestions or topics that you'd like for the community to discuss. Huh? So let's see if there are anyone who would like to cover any specific topic. Okay, so Sundaraj, would you like to read that? Or shall I just type that in here? So his suggestion was on how can volunteers help KM4DEV. Yes, Sundaraj. Yeah, I saw you unmuted yourself.
Well, I'm in a place which is quite loud, so thanks for reading it out for me.
All right, okay. So I will put it in there, but we might have to ask you later on to speak to it later on. Huh? Anything else? How about the session on? So Mike, please go ahead.
Yes.
Just if you can read that one.
Yeah, I was Sarah and I were suggesting was a lot of debate about decolonization of knowledge, and we'd like to invite anyone else who is interested in that to talk about what that implications of that might be for our network.
So would you be leading that, Mike?
To the extent that Sarah and I would do it together.
Okay, so the sixth group is decolonization of knowledge.
Sorry, Rocio, Pierre here. I see there are a few more coming in, and Peter Burry has raised his hand. I don't know if you want to suggest a new topic. Peter, you're already, I think, down for to lead one group. So if it's a new topic, that's all right. Otherwise, we'll hear from you later in the pitch.
Maybe very briefly, I actually suggest, I wrote it in the chat as well, maybe group 1 and group 2 can also look into how KM4DEV can become more representative of the planetary population. So inclusive in multiple ways, both in terms of, I'm thinking of China, and I'm thinking of communities that have poor internet access and may not even know us. Thanks.
So since it's about participation, we can put inclusivity as well?
I think I'm just putting it in both, no? So because maybe both indeed can touch on existing members and then new members as well, no? And anything else? I agree, 1 and 5 are same. 1 and 5. I see, okay. So again, so I think who's that who said that? Mirjam. To say that this volunteers topic, perhaps we can actually move to the
one with Gladys, to the second one, and you can do it together with Gladys then in that group.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do that.
Then you'd have space for the Africa French-speaking group. I saw there was a proposal for a French African subgroup somewhere in the chat.
Yeah, that's from Atsu. And maybe, I mean, I think probably it's worth listing the different topics that we have. We got 65 people. Maybe we can have more than 6 breakout rooms. That would be that's a possibility. We are quite a number of people here. There is also another, so there is this suggestion on a topic about KM4DEV in other languages. Oh, well, French-speaking countries in Africa. There was a session yesterday on that. We have the suggestion from Davide on manage, contain, make sense of the proliferation of online platforms that the community uses. So I guess you're referring to KM4DEV community in this sense. So the KM4DEV platforms, right, Davide?
Yes, that's what I meant, Peter.
So that's the technology bit, KM4DEV technology and online spaces. Yeah, that's interesting.
So we have, okay, shall I put it maybe here as technology.
So maybe Jasmine, then delete what I just wrote. I thought it was going to be an additional one.
For which one? Sorry. So I think we still have at this point for 5 topics. Because we're moving global inclusivity to be considerations for the first and the second topic. Volunteers, which is true, because at the end of the day, we're all volunteers, no? None of us get paid, actually. Huh? So how we can further, generate that volunteerism. So this was a suggestion which we're lumping together with number 2. And then there is this SDG and Agenda 2030. And I saw there's a related comment in the chat box. I think it really falls under this one. No? So there's a comment in the chat box about how we can align KM4DEV with SDG, right? So I think it's indeed very much this number 3. Then there's a funding discussion. Then there's a technology and platforms discussion. And then what else?
Decolonization of knowledge.
Ah, oui, that's right. Okay, so shall we put that as another one? So that can be the number 6 is the decolonize. All right, cool. So that's this number 6. Super.
What do we have, Yasmin, for number 7? Sorry.
Yeah.
In the decolonization of knowledge, then that goes also with global inclusivity, no?
Yeah, I mean, I think this global inclusivity, you can touch upon it on mostly, you know, on different topics.
Yeah.
Although I think there were a couple of topics related to language.
Yeah, true. Good reminder.
Specifically Francophone KM4DEV, and the other one I think was just more inclusivity, but I don't remember how it was formulated.
So maybe we do need indeed a space for our French-speaking colleagues, and if they want to see what they want to do as a French KM4DEV community. So I'm just putting that in here. Okay, do we have a topic 8?
I think that's okay. We can move on the breakout rooms. Okay.
No, first we need to set up the groups.
Right.
So no pictures, just checking. No pictures.
Pitches. So one.
Pitches.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move very, very quickly on the pitches.
So Helen, first, why people should join your group?
Okay. So Rocio asked me while I was in another meeting about 10 minutes ago, and she said she would tell me what to say. She didn't. So
it's okay.
That's not fair. No, I think what I would say, I mean, there's so many great things coming out here, you know, like inclusivity and etc. How would the community like to practice? I just noticed John Novell said that. But I see it as an opportunity to brainstorm, come up with some concrete ideas about what we should be doing as a community, but it's really about what do people want. And like John Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, but you think about it the other way around. It's like not what can the community do for you, it's what can you do for the community. So for me, it's more like how can members support the community? So it's not about sort of extracting. And I think, you know, really dynamic events like this, and we have had them in the past, but not really like this, these sorts of dynamic opportunities to learn and share together. For me, it's exactly what I need, and I think it also encourages new people to join. So we need to come up with lots of ideas like this. So there you go.
Thank you. Gladys?
Hi, Rosha.
So this is Sundarai and Gladys. Why would you like people to join to your group?
Because there's a lot of opportunities to engage with the KM for development. And I'm one of them. I've been an active member, and it has really given me a lot of opportunities to grow in terms of my professional career and also within my organization. And also in Kenya, like, I've been quite influencing Kenyan KMers here in Kenya. And most of them have been really transformative through this KM for development. And I encourage everyone to be part of our team as we discuss more on their upcoming opportunities that we can engage and participate within the KM for development community.
Thank you. Andreas, Agenda for Knowledge Development, Knowledge for Development.
Thank you, Rufio. Yes, the idea of the Agenda Knowledge for Development and K4DP has always been from the beginning to reach out to people who are not already specialists or practitioners in knowledge management. So I invite everybody to join this group to see how we can reach the leaders in the society, governments and non-governmental leaders to commit themselves stronger to knowledge in society, to understand better the needs and to commit themselves to real and substantial and sustainable action, so that a change can happen. And very much related to the agenda knowledge, which also is starting to be developed on a national level, like in Uganda and Kenya. We run for national knowledge partnerships to build trust, the community, to develop the national knowledge ecosystem, and how to reach out, how to get commitment, how to build these partnerships will be the topic of this breakout session.
Thank you. Peter.
Yes, so group 4 sounds simpler than it is. In the old days, KM4DEV had working groups. So there was a technology stewardship group that I hope may re-emerge again under number 5. So let me focus very briefly on funding. This is about a funding working group, a finances working group, I would prefer to call it, that brings together creative people that can look into how can we cover our running costs, and how can we maybe also raise funds for projects. In the past, projects were either funded by fantastic organizations like Helvetas, IFAT, and a few others, or by some contributions of individuals. What we also discussed in our last face-to-face meeting in Rome, I don't remember which year that was, is crowdfunding. So among the members, there the idea is, how much is KM4DEV as a platform, as a community, as a place where you can learn and share worth to you as compared to a subscription, to whatever subscription you have. Raising funds can be one-off contributions. Raising funds can also be almost a voluntary subscription to KM4DEV, voluntary. So we will never impose any cost to become member of KM4DEV, but a voluntary. So there is a difference between contributing, once 10 euro or any contribution, any currency to KM4DEV, and giving 2 euros a month on an ongoing basis. So anyone who would like to discuss this, not only during the open space session, but would like to consider joining a financing working group, is most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Davide.
Sorry, I'm muted. I wrote it in the chat and you got me in a bad moment because there are bells outside. But I think for the technology bit that I suggested is that there is a lot of confusion as to which platform we have to utilize for which purpose. And that makes it more difficult for people to engage because they don't know where. But also for the volunteers to keep things running smoothly. There is a lot of coordination issues. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Mike or Sarah, would you like to talk about the colonization of knowledge?
Mike, do you want to do it?
Okay, yeah, I'm fine. You can introduce the workshop when we get going. Right. Many of you may know there's been a lot of argument about decolonization. I mean, its roots go back many, many years. Decolonization of knowledge. It's been particularly exacerbated by disputes within the universities in South Africa, especially Cape Town, a Rhodes Must Fall campaign. And so it's a very hot academic topic, but it overlaps into information management, publishing, and everything. What I thought would be interesting for us to discuss is to take these arguments beyond their academic roots and to think what it means for us and about the cultures of communication that we work within. There was a really good presentation done at last year's DSA conference in Britain by the Liberian academic Robtel Paley on the white gaze of development. So we could be thinking about what types of conversations we have and how welcoming and easy to participate they are for everyone. We can be thinking about also then the technology, both from a way of its design, which is nearly always got the sort of white male as the sort of prime user in its concept, through to continuing issues which exist between going for the very best, which requires more money and more bandwidth versus the most appropriate for maximizing the audience. So these are some, I'd really like to talk through some of the practical implications of working in a more decolonized practice within our network and beyond.
Thank you, Mike. I just received a message saying that he prefers to remove the Francophone group. So I guess that's it.
Great.
So just to remind you how to annotate, if you go on the top of menu, you will see that Jasmine is sharing the screen, and just beside is view options. If you click down, you will see annotate.
Sorry, Rossio, to interrupt for the group allocation, because I need to break them in manually. So I would suggest that if people have already made up their mind, please rename yourself, starting with the group you want to join. So put the group number before your name, and then you can, so that way will allow me to be, to see easier where you want to go. Yes, perfect, Jorge, 1, John 3. So if we all do the same, then it will be much easier for me to allocate the people, because this has to be done manually. So I can just easily see through the list. So you just mouse over your name on the participant list and you'll see the option to rename.
But in any case, if you have the time to annotate, so we can see who is in which group.
Sorry, this takes a bit. In the meantime, we know that, of course, one of the rule of open space is the law of the 2 feet and walking out and in groups, which virtually it's a bit more difficult, right? So we can still accommodate that. If you want to use the law of the 2 feet, just come out of the room and then we can allocate you again to a different one.
Yeah, so maybe people have to understand that, Pierre. That means that once you're in the room, you can click on the red thing, leave the room, right? And you will go back into the plenary room where Pierre can then help you.
Thanks, Peter. Yes, I'm allocating people. It's difficult for me to do 2 things at the same time, as many of you already know. I see that some people already have not changed their name. Please do so. So we can...
How long is the
we're going to have 20 minutes.
Yes,
right, Jasmine, if we're good on time with that. Sorry, just give me a second.
In the meantime, are there any questions from anybody on how this would work? So when we're sent to the group, then you will have 20 minutes to discuss. You will be sent, what you call it, the link to, you know how it works by now, no? A PowerPoint where you can then put down your inputs. And then when we call you back in plenary, then it would be great if you can share sort of your topmost recommendation, yeah, to everybody. Of course, you might have 100 recommendations, but what are the topmost? Maybe even just one topmost that for sure we can really practically explore and do as a community moving forward. So that's what's going to happen. Voila, and then and yeah, if you feel that you've already contributed what you can in that group and you want to move to another group during the 20 minutes, just leave the room. And then you land in this big room and you can tell Pierre, please assign me to group X, Y, or Z again. No? Then you will jump into that. Okay? So that's how it's going to work now.
So, and Ross, in the meantime, has shared the notes, the link to the slide. You'll find a slide with your group number. Please annotate there so we can have a documentation, capture the conversation. Off we go. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, I think we're all back in plenary. And we got a few people that have joined us in the meantime. You might recognize the names and the faces. I think I'm handing over to Jorge for the next bit.
Yes, we would like to hear from all of you. I was in one of the groups and we had a great discussion. So I will invite a representative of each of the groups to share a few ideas. We do not have a lot of time, so share your key ideas, please, from Helen's group. And that was, I think, your moderator, your presenter, Brent?
I'm the stuckee for that, but yeah. I think the theme of our group in terms of a topic that appeals to this entire group is how do you tell the KM4DEV story where you are? I'll use my example. I found out about this because I ran into Rocio in another cafe and she advertised this event. And when I discovered what this event was and the organization behind it, I realized there's an entire world of KM, I was literally and figuratively, to which I was unaware. So we are all in our various worlds sharing and talking about KM and in multiple languages and in multiple formats. And if we can use those forums and those platforms to tell that story, and then what are the things that this organization can do for them, I think that is how we're going to get new members and how we're going to wind up supporting those members, because they'll find out that there's another source of information or a source of comfort, an island, an oasis of support, and then who knows where it goes from there. Anybody else from the group like to share, please?
Well, I think there were a lot of ideas, but yeah, that's true. Something else, group members? I especially like to hear from those group members who were relatively new, who were like, impressed by all of these things that they have heard during this week. So that was nice. And then the recommendation, of course, that we have to show it in a better way. Sophie, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was suggesting that to have our community better known, to have, like what we did now around the 20th anniversary, to have knowledge cafe on a regular basis that we can decide whether it's every month, and to actually make this public using all our social media so that people can join and discover the community. And not only to do it only in English, but to do it also in other languages. So the same subject can be taken in French, in Spanish, and why not in Russian. So it will be more engaging. It will let the community better known. And of course, Helen was saying that moving to the new D groups, this would be maybe a new platform, because we need certainly to refresh our website, the link, which is looking a bit old. Old style from 20 years ago. It's not true. Winning was not 20 years ago, but we don't look young, and we need to refresh ourselves. So these ideas will be passed to the group number 5.
Thank you. Thank you, Sophie. I would like to go to group second one, Gladys. Who's presenting from your group, sharing some of the 1 or 2 key ideas that you discussed?
Handing over to Sylvia to summarize.
I volunteered to write, and this is it now. You know, so what happens.
Sorry.
So so it was actually picking up from the group one's point. There were lots and lots of different ideas. You can see it on the slides. This idea of some people still, well, the importance of face-to-face, no matter what new normal is, what the new normal that we eventually go back to, the importance of some face-to-face in some way or other. Apparently, throughout the history of KM4DEV, you did have these meetings, and then it kind of evolved into different things, and it was harder with the bigger community, but keeping that somehow possible. And a link to that is precisely making maybe smaller groups and having these smaller, you know, the metaphor was bunches of flowers, all the petals of one flower that belong to one flower, but then they have their own life, the different petals in regional, sub-regional country groups, the feedback that can take place between smaller and the bigger KM4DEV community. So really important to think about those options. You know, you can call them chapters or whichever type of subdivisions. And then the importance of, this links back to the previous group, the advertising, or not necessarily marketing, but telling the world about KM4DEV, the importance of it being there, that it has had a lot of impact and it's affected people's lives and work, obviously, really positively, and has had an influence. And so how to tell more people about it, so people, other practitioners in the sector and other sectors get to know about this. And we finished with a story from Sundaraj, who said he joined this 2-day event thinking it was KM4DEV this event was a programming event in terms of IT. And then he realized what it was all about. And then he really got hooked. And now he feels he wants to, you know, volunteer and carry out the work. So it was a really nice story.
Nice. Thanks a lot, Sylvia. Thank you. We go quickly to group 3. Andreas, how do we refocus our agenda to align and push the agenda?
It was a very short discussion. I felt like we had only 5 minutes. However, we identified some very important topics. One of them is to link up better with the much larger international communities that are on knowledge management, like the SIKM, ADAPT, and others that may not even know about the Knowledge for Development Partnership and the agenda Knowledge for Development. And John has taken, let's say, leadership to link us also with CKM and with other communities. The next topic that we have is to build stronger on local champions and local leaders. John Howell volunteered for Washington, D.C. and London to mobilize people there on a local level. And of course, we had 3 representatives of Kenya. You know, Kenya is a very strong community in knowledge management and knowledge agenda. Currently, the knowledge management strategy is under development. And the idea is to bring this knowledge management strategy and the national knowledge agenda to the parliament and to pass on a law and to make knowledge management obligatory and an essential element of the whole public administration and the requirement. And let's say, of course, this is maybe the strongest act to put it in a law, but creating awareness, even with social media and other media, is, let's say, important to transfer the messages. Anything to add from our colleagues?
I think that your colleagues are already adding also on the chat, which is all very nice. So please feel free to add your ideas on the chat, which we still can do. And thank you very much to this ghost who is writing them on the shared screen that we can all see. We go.
Jasmine.
Great. Somebody from Peter's group is going to tell us about raising funds.
Yeah, I think it will be me.
Boring.
Yeah, it's not totally surprising. Also in Rome, I remember we were a very small group. We were 3 on the screen, but in practice only 2. And both of us are already member of a somewhat ailing finance working group of KM4DEV. So there is only one message here. We need more volunteers that are creative finance people. And I put it in the chat and look forward to any reactions. Thank you.
Yeah, please go and look at that link. We've already mentioned some of the things about technology. Davide, somebody from your group to come with a couple of highlights, or yourself?
I'll summarize briefly and then I'll ask the other people to jump in. Very quickly, first of all, there was a validation of the issue. Proliferation of platforms is a real pain point, especially for those of us who have volunteered to keep things moving. So there is a sense of urgency. There is also a challenge that we need to be aware of, that we don't have enough volunteers. We tried technology stewardship groups before. There wasn't enough engagement. We don't have enough people. And maybe that's something that can be linked to the volunteers discussion as well as to the one on funding. In terms of solutions, we got a lot of great and practical ideas. First of all, in the short term, maybe we could have some user guides for the things that we have now, the way we use them now, including frequently asked questions. But in the longer term, the suggestion was to start from mapping out all the tools that we use and then decide what to use and for which purpose, and remove the duplication so that we would end up in an ecosystem of tools where there are different tools for different purposes. And then a suggestion was to be disciplined, like stick to the decision, manage our tech enthusiasm. We don't have to try everything out, even if at times it's fun. And then ultimately there was a very nice suggestion to design a clear onboarding process for the new members that comprises of sort of standard operating procedures in the sense that you need what to use for which purpose, but then also user guides in various languages and keeping it simple. And maybe in response to the challenge of few volunteers, we could use videos as an easier solution. And then Nancy came in last minute and wrapped it up beautifully by reminding us that we are the community, our technology is us. So the most important thing is that we gather as human beings and the technology is supposed to serve us. So maybe we should start from what we want to do and not from which tools we want to use. That's the summary. If anybody wants to jump in.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And we go to the last group. We had a very interesting cafe, I think not very long ago, on Decolonization of Knowledge. So what did this group added to the discussions we had? Sarah and Mike?
I'm actually going to report. I don't know what it added because I was not at the cafe. But what we talked about was the multifaceted nature of that whole topic, and the fact that it's actually the language is quite poor itself. Decolonizing knowledge. We need to unpack that further. There's also massive differences in how people in the global north, people in the global south look at it. So very interesting to unpack that. But it relates, among others, to things like how different modes of conversation are taking place. For instance, we mentioned the difference of paying attention to talking versus, or conversation itself versus paying attention to the silence. And so it's about inviting these different modes of knowledge, of sharing knowledge, of understanding, of making sense of things, of connecting with one another, including how we're connecting to each other in conferences and meetings, for instance. So it's about looking at the underlying models that are at play and challenging those, or at least being aware of those. And so very practically, I think we want to invite every one of you to keep exploring this, because it's a very rich domain, very rich conversation topic. And that should also include looking at the different language communities. More notes in the slides, and this was not an easy one to summarize, but fascinating. So thank you, group. Feel free to add.
Yeah, thanks a lot. That's true. The slides are also available, so you are all invited to go and look at them and to add ideas and to continue sharing, not just here in the chat, but also on the slides themselves, which all of you can edit. So yeah, a lot of things that have been happening in the past 20 years, and we can see here a lot to do in the coming 20 years. So many thanks for your ideas. Now we're going to the next session. What are our commitments? Yasmin, over to you.
All right. This is really fascinating. It's so rich, these conversations, and amazing how we're able to do this all from different parts of the world, no, not even face-to-face. I do miss about the face-to-face though, so second that. let's meet up soon, hopefully. Okay, but at this point, yes, these are some of the key recommendations, and some are really super practical and very not easy, but at least you have something concrete to implement. And of course, as a community, we are a community of KM practitioners, but we're also a community of volunteers, you know. So, and the community is us. We've gone this far because of the effort, the initiatives, you know, the willingness of people to actually chip in, given the benefits that they're deriving from the community. And so at this point, this is a call for now those of you who participated in these conversations and those of you who have heard interesting things from other groups that you didn't participate in, to make sure that this moves forward, we need warm bodies. Yeah, so this is us, all of us. So this call, of course, you can continue to volunteer later on, but if at this point there are things in here, like areas that you think you can pursue, you can contribute. It need not be super huge contribution, but at least if, for example, we would like to pursue that, we know that you're interested to help us out as a core group, then we know who to approach. Okay, so if we can take a moment to, again, we've heard it, you can read it again here, it's a summarized version, to write down our names in that part, in that box that you feel you'd be interested to pursue with us. Yeah, so I'd like to call on volunteers, and we know how it works. There's that annotate feature. Click on the T for the text. Click on the box. Type your name. So I give you a few minutes to read. I will put Ginetta 1 and 5. Okay, if you cannot annotate, no problem at all. Just type in the chat box and we'll put your name in there. Thank you, Sophie. So we have some volunteers coming in. It's okay. If your name appears twice in there, it doesn't mean we'll ask you for twice the effort. So that's okay. Right, that should be fine. All right. really super thank you for that. And I see more coming in. Don't worry, it doesn't end here. Anytime you can, of course, let us know if you'd like to help. And we're always out there calling for volunteers of, well, we're going to do this initiative, who would like to help. It's always an opportunity for all of us to help each other out in this really evolving, dynamic world of knowledge management. Great. And I think with that, I will hand over to Sarah to do closing. And then we'll do a little activity afterwards, after Sarah's closing. That's it. Over to you now, Sarah.
Okay, thank you very much, Jasmine. It's really a pleasure and an honor for me to close this event, looking backwards and forwards at KM4DEV. And I think it must be really clear to all of us that KM4DEV really is a global public good. There's been a huge amount happening around the knowledge cafes, to this online conference, which has been 24 hours around the world. And it's great to see so many existing and old members and also new members joining this event. I'd particularly like to thank the organizing team, which has been about 20 people. I think they've shown fantastic facilitation skills, but also it's been really, really interesting and fascinating. And I'm really proud of them. And, you know, for me personally, I had an accident at the beginning of June, and so I have not been doing anything at all, just have had prepared emails and things for me. So I'm really, really grateful for that. So what I'd like to do, I'm not going to thank everybody in person because I'm horrified that I might forget somebody, but I would like to ask the organizing team to unmute themselves, make sure they've got a video on, and come and make some noise so they'll all come to the top of the board. So could you unmute yourselves and maybe we could all cheer? Rocio, Gladys?
Yes.
Unmute yourself, then you'll all come to the top. Fitz, yeah, where are you?
Let me fill up the glass.
Yeah. Thank you.
I didn't have to prepare.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Great.
Thank you.
It wouldn't have worked without all of you.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That's true.
It was fantastic.
Great. Okay, so, but not only did I want to introduce the core team, maybe also the organizing team, but also the core group. So I'd also like to ask the core group to unmute themselves and to make noise so they come to the top of the screen, and I'll also take a screenshot while we're doing that. So could you all unmute? Yay.
Hi.
Could I get my
Cheers again.
Hello.
Great to see you. Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah, great work. So any of you who did the quiz will know that actually, if you want to join the core team, it's not, you don't have to be invited. You don't have to be invited by officially. What you do is send an email to the KM4DEV core group and volunteer, and everybody is welcome. So this is really a call, particularly to take advantage of all the energy from the conference. So you'll be very welcome to join us. And we're having a meeting actually next Monday, the coming Monday at 1:30. So we'll be also really be feeling very, very happy about what's been happening here. So now I'd like to thank all of you, everybody who's been taking part, old and new members, all of you. It's just been absolutely fantastic. So I would also like to ask you to unmute yourselves, make sure you've got your photo on, so that we can take a conference photograph. Okay, unmuted. So we've got the first. Yeah, and let's say happy birthday, KM4DEV. Happy birthday!
Oh, cher KM, c'est ton tour de te laisser parler d'amour.
Joyeux anniversaire, joyeux anniversaire.
Yeah, bon anniversaire. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. It's been really fantastic. And I'd like to just hand over to Jasmine for the last exercise.
Great. Okay, 3 minutes. Do you have your phones with you?
Yes.
Yeah? So grab your phones. If you don't have, it's fine. Huh? You can also use your computer, but you need a new tab. Yeah? Because we're going to have a little very, very short sort of a wrap up. So 2 ways that you can participate in this Menti exercise. Either go to the website and enter this code, or you can point your camera at this QR, don't click, then it will open, it will say something on top, open menti.com, and then you just click, you're straight in. You okay? Give you a minute to do that. And once you're inside, the question is there. Yeah? Are you in?
No. Yes.
Okay, go for it. 691497 is the code. If maybe Pierre, if you can type it in the chat, please, because I'm going to show now how the results are coming in. Okay?
Yeah, you went as faster as done it already.
Super. All right. Super, super, super. Now let's see what's happening. What's happening? What's happening? Hold on. Hold on. I'm so excited. Hold on. Ah. Now. Share my screen, and you see all your responses coming in right now.
Wow.
You see that?
Yes.
And as new responses come in, then the order of the words and the sizes differ. But you see the topmost is inspiring, fun. Oh, isn't that lovely? So insightful. So we learn by having fun, huh? So it need not be boring. Validating, friends, motivating, engaging, great, uplifting, trust, warm, enlightening, all these wonderful words. Super, 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 super. Thank you very much. I will get another screen grab of this, and then let's it will be open. So if you haven't thought of your 3 words, definitely there's still time to think it through. But yeah, so far I think this is what we have. Okay, and with that, we really hope that you've had a really inspiring, engaging, fun, motivating, validating, energetic, and exciting 20-year celebrations. And we look forward to the next 20 years.
Jasmine, 1 second. I have added in the chat an infographic where you can find the links to all the knowledge cafes, except the one of the Colonization of Knowledge, which is not yet ready. So I will send the infographic next week with all the links.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Have a good morning.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao, ciao.
Fantastic.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao, 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 ciao.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, Sheila. Bye, Gladys, Asante.
Nancy, bye. Lucy, bye.
Hey, bye,
Bye,
nice
everyone.
to see you.
Bye, Harry.
Bye. Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
Jasmine.
Bye, all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Jasmine,
Thank you,
say hi
Andreas.
to
Bye-bye.
your baby.
I don't want to go. Who's coming down the pub? Who's coming to a bar with me?
Feel free to stick around.
I want to leave. I don't want to leave now. Let's continue celebrating.
Bye, Ellen.